The FujiCast is an independent Loading Zone production.
Never, ever argue with the Mullins, because now he is Black Belt Mullins. I knew you'd do it. I know you do this humble thing that you do, Kev, where you say, "No, I won't get it, and then you do. You're like the annoying class SWAT that says, I won't get an A. I'll probably get a D. I'll probably get an E. I might even get a U, and then you get an A+.
You know what? I said on Facebook that I'm not often kind of big on telling people how proud I am of something, but I am very proud of that. You should be enormous in my life.
Did knowing that because you had to win 3 fights, didn't you? That was the
last 3 fights I needed to win. Yeah.
Oh, hang on. So did you fight more that day?
Yeah. So I'd already got 70 points, which is 7 wins. So I only needed 3 more.
How many fights did you do that day?
Well, I won my first 2, which then entitles you to a lineup, which is three more fights. And if you have to win the first 2. So if I hadn't won the first 2, I wouldn't have had the opportunity to get the full 100 on the day. So they then give you another 3 fights. And I won the first fight. And you're then meant to carry on fighting for the next 2, which obviously I didn't need to do at that point. So the second guy came out, and those 3 are one after the other, 4 minutes fights, one after the other. You stay on the mat.
Bang, bang, bang.
So the second guy comes on, and he just kind of looked at me. I looked at him. He knew I just got my 100 points. And I just kind of, we had a little bit of a rumble. I threw him. He got me into a hold down. And I just whispered in his ear. I said, "You can have these, mate." Because he'll get 10 points for that.
So you threw the last one. Right, I do want to know one thing, though. As you were going into the one where you knew you had to win to get your 100 points, how did you feel? Were you like, "I'm having you"? Because you were in South London, weren't you, as well? It was the... So
the irony of it was, so the guy that I had first in that lineup, the one who could have given me my 100 points, was the same guy that beat me in my last lineup in the 3rd fight. So in November last year, I won my first 2 fights. Then I had a lineup, and I won the first 2 fights of the lineup, and I had the 3rd fight, which would have given me my black belt on the day. And this guy was there, and I was just exhausted, like proper exhausted at that point. So, and also he was better than me on the day, and I just lost. So I never got my black belt on the day then. So I still then needed to do another 3 fights, and it was him. So yeah, I beat the shit out of him basically. I wasn't going to let it happen again.
That doesn't sound very judo respectful to me.
The FujiCast.
You're not supposed to say stuff like that. It's all about bowing and respect and knowing certain words.
Yeah, but it is also about fighting and fighting very hard.
Well, that's true. So, well done, Kev.
Thank you.
Well, look, there was a little round of applause within the small couple of rounds of applause within the theme tune here. Well, welcome to the FujiCast. Here we are again with your questions from Facebook and also from email. If you've sent them in to click@fujicast.co.uk, we'll get to them. Or, of course, you may... Because the last time we talked, Kev, it was looking thinner than... certainly my hairline. I can't speak about yours. But it was looking thinner than my hairline.
I think we got a few in, which is good.
It picked up. Good.
I should probably tidy up that post.
Yeah?
Because it's,
Bit messy?
Not so much messy, but it kind of indicates it's the beginning of 2021. New questions for the show 2021. Maybe I'll start a new thread. But yeah, we got some questions. And we had some through email as well, didn't we? So yeah, all good.
A for effort, D for... for application.
Aptitude.
I don't know, whatever. Also, we do have a book of the week, don't we? So, what have you been reading? What have you been buying, Kev?
We have got Café Lehmitz by Anders Petersen.
Nice.
Forward by Tom Waits, no doubt.
Really?
Yeah. It's about. We'll get to it. It's a really nice book.
And Ally. We talked about her last time. She is our guest, isn't she?
Ally Stuart-Ross. She is indeed. Yes.
So that's it's a packed show. Kev, I don't know whether this has happened of late to you, but have you noticed now that if stuff gets sent abroad, or rather if you're receiving stuff from abroad, I got the other day. I mean, it was sent as a gift, and I've received it, and I've got a thumping bill with it. It's a used camera bag, which has now cost me more than it would have cost had I bought it new.
Yeah, I know. It's absolutely insane. The same thing happened to me with a judo suit. I bought a judo suit. This was last year, and judo suit was, I don't know, 45 quid or whatever. It came from Germany, and it got to, they wanted 97 quid to bring it into the country. Yeah.
What did you say?
I ignored it, and they sent it back eventually. It's crazy. The world, this country has made
it's broken Britain. It's broken Britain.
Drastic mistakes in the recent past. That's all I'm going to say on that.
We do now. I've always.
Where's it coming from? Where did the bag come from?
It was from United States of America land.
Oh right, so you can't blame the Brexit for that then.
No, not at all. No, I can. It was like, and you don't get a choice. The Royal Mail send you a message saying that the customs charge is blah, and you basically can't argue.
Yeah, they just hold it hostage, don't they?
Oh dear.
I mean, from America, it is always so. I rarely buy stuff from America, but when I do, I double check that it's including. So depending on what they write on the
but you should be able to send. You should be able to send little prezzies backwards and forwards to each other.
You should, but but
why not?
I mean, you should, but it's weird, isn't it? Because if they think, it's commerce, you're bringing something into the country. It's the same as coming in from Europe now. It's just the cost of it all.
It's a used camera bag.
I know, but what did they write on the box? Gift? Used camera bag? Then it should come in free. Yeah, but you don't know what they've written on the customs form.
Well, they wrote gift.
How do you know? Have you seen the customs form?
No, I haven't, but he said he wrote gift. I'm believing him. There's no reason not to.
I bet he didn't.
He did.
He didn't.
If I get it and it says gift.
I bet he didn't.
I bet he did.
I bet he didn't. I bet he just wrote camera bag.
Oh, do you think that's the problem?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I will give you...
I'm going to write used diapers on everything I send from now on.
8 pence. If I'm wrong.
8 pence. Oh,
but also, if it does come to you and it says gift, and you prove it is just a gift, then you should be able to claim that back.
Could I claim double for the time it took me? I want
Can you
more.
claim what?
Double for the time it took me.
I'm not sure that works.
Cost me time to do this. You owe me. Right. Questions. Let's get into questions. Oh, before we do, a big thank you to pick-time.com for supporting the show. They've been with us for a couple of months now. Both myself and Kev use them as a commerce gallery for selling prints. You sold an album recently, didn't you? So it's albums too, which are important for your business. They're important for my business too. I haven't started doing albums through them. Perhaps I should take a leaf out of your book.
Well, the good thing is I don't do it. The client does it. That's even the thing for it.
Were you able to check the design first to make sure that it was, So
yeah, you get all that. And you can choose whether for things like albums, I get it sent straight to the clients, but you can choose to have it delivered to you first if you then wish to forward it on, double check it all.
And you can choose which providers and which labs you use for your prints. I know that have you chosen Loxley now?
I don't really take note of which labs they are, but I take note of where they are.
Yeah.
So when you're selecting your products, you can choose to have UK-based only labs, which is what I do to avoid all of this stuff we've just talked about with import taxes and stuff like that. So, but yeah, so if you're in France, it would make sense to use French labs. If you're in the UK, use UK labs. If you're in the United States, use United States labs. That's my advice on that. Yeah. And yes, so you will get a month free using the code FujiCast. I think quite a lot of people have taken it up, which is great, which is really good for us and also really good for you if you're using it. I will be in a couple of weeks speaking to Amir and Narit, who are the founders of PickTime. And it's a very interesting story, although we're not necessarily going to talk too much about the background of PickTime, but something that might interest people in the future.
It's always interesting to know how things came about. And I'd like to just add at this point that both myself and Kev, we don't get a freebie of that. We believe in it, so we bought it. And
my subscription's up in a couple of weeks, actually.
Yeah. Is this why you had your conversation with them? Don't tell Neil, but any chance of...
No, I'm still be paying for it, don't worry.
Right, clip this bit out, send that to them.
And I paid for the full whack as well, like the HD slideshows, the unlimited gallery.
Yeah.
And on that point, for transparency, it's not cheap. It's, it's an investment. It's, you're going to be paying a couple of $100 for it. We've talked about it before. It's well worth it. If you're a professional photographer, or if you're just a photographer who wants to build gallery systems that look beautiful and enable people to buy your stuff.
We'll link to it on the show page today. Right. Who's going first, Kev?
First of all, I'm going to say thank you to our latest set of patrons.
Oh, yes, right.
So don't forget, you can also help us out on Patreon if you so wish. And one of basically the only benefit of being a patron is you get the patron pop-up show, which will be available immediately after this.
Yep.
Where at the moment we're going through reviews of things, aren't we? Yeah, and we have today, we are going to be reviewing
website today, isn't it? Leon Droby's website, isn't it?
Leon Droby's website, yes. So we'll do a little critique of that. So latest patrons are Torsten Treitvine, Jabari Photos, probably not his real name, Nick 50,000, definitely not his.
Well, you don't know. Hello,
Biles.
Mr. 50,000. Mr. 50,000, come this way. Your table is waiting for you.
Carlos Echenique and Patrick Breen, Sean O'Berry, and Leslie Burdett. So, yes, thank you very much to all of you for helping us and supporting us.
You can change your not necessarily names, but titles. A friend of mine bought a title, so make him a lord, which he said always helped when it came to airfare tickets or upgrades and getting restaurant tables. When they say, have you booked? And there's a whole table, there's a whole restaurant rather full of tables completely free, and you say, well, no, I haven't. Do I need to book? Oh yeah, you can't get in here for 3 months. But Lord Govia can, my friend. He bought, I think, a square foot of land.
Yeah, you can do it in Scotland.
In Scotland, that's it. And he's now Lord and Lady Govia.
Well, don't get me. What does that say about the class system in the United Kingdom?
I know. I thought it.
One rule for one rule for perceivably rich other people.
Well, he seems to manage to get tables whenever he wants at KFC. It's never a problem.
Well, if he comes around my house, he can sit in the garden.
Right, questions. Yours. You're going first, aren't you, from the Book of Face?
Yes, I will go through, and as a time-honoured tradition, I will start with the most recent one, which was yesterday, Ned Chapman, and it's not really a question, it's a bit of a kind of gimmicky question with a kind of serious question at the end of it, I suppose. Given the great news of Kevin getting his black belt in judo,
yes.
If you were involved in an impromptu street kerfuffle, which Fujifilm camera would you use to aid you and why? Would autofocus tracking be a priority?
I thought for a minute he was talking about which Fujifilm camera would you use, would you weaponize?
Yeah,
right.
I think that's what he means. Which one would you use to hit somebody over the head?
Oh, it does mean that.
I think my answer would be I'd use the X70 and I'd just stick it in their mouth and run away.
Oh, Kev. I think you've got to use a good 50 to 140. That's heavy. Swing it over. What are they called? Nunchucks, aren't they? Swing it over your head like a nunchuck. Watch that thing fly.
Remember, folks, cameras are not for violence.
Not weapons. Although,
I'll go with another one.
Before you go with that, there was a chap that I knew years ago when I was working at the Beeb. He was a photographer, and his name was Steve. And he used to do a lot of stuff outside stringies. In the days when stringies was stringies. I think, Peter Stringfellow is, yeah. I think the club...
recently, only last year or the year before.
The club is still open, isn't it?
Stringfellow's Casino is still there because I walked past it yesterday on Workshop.
Right.
I'm not sure whether the club is still on Leicester Square as it used to be.
Well, he used to get in all sorts of kerfuffles outside there with people that didn't want their picture taken, and he said the motor drive on what was it? No, he had the camera that I've got. Oh, a Nikon F5. It's a heavy beast.
Yeah,
and he's used it more than once to get out of trouble, apparently. But as you say, cameras are for life and for taking beautiful, creative pictures and not as weaponry.
Cameras are for preserving life in a celluloid square.
Yes, not taking it. Right, go on then, nice question.
Right, it's a very, very long question, however. It's from Robert Liskowski, who I think we had on the show a couple of weeks ago, and we were debating whether he was from Poland or not. Anyway, he says, "Hi Kev, hi Neil. Yes, I am from Poland. Well guessed with my last question, but that's not the reason I am taking your time. It's GFX topic. I own XT5 and XT2. Had X Pro 3, but traded it for XT5. Keeping up? To have better battery life and crop capabilities, as I like to work with primes and not swapping them constantly. Yeah. I like to have 35 1.4 and shoot all day. Recently, I came across GFX files and I was blown away. That's me blowing him away. That sounds awful, doesn't it?
Don't be rude. Yeah, so I'm quite right, Donald. I'm taking the task on that one.
I watched many reviews of the 50X range. Yeah. Watched Kev's channel video on the 50S and the 50R. But all of that was in time when Fuji did not have the high-res APS-C sensors, which is very true. Question 1. I am curious. How does the GFX 50X, i.e. R or S2 or whatever they're called now, quality stack up against XT5 XH2 in terms of tonal range and resolution? Question 2. Let's do question 1 first.
Well, let's do question one will interest me because, as you know, Kev, I am. We talked about this anyway when we did the show in London, coming back to Fuji consistent. I mean, I've been running Canon alongside Fujifilm cameras now for a while, as you know. And I'm sort of coming back home, as it were. Cue the theme tune. And I thought, well, really, I like working with two same bodies. So H2S makes sense to me to have two bodies of because they're the same. But then I thought, hold on a moment. This is my opportunity to tippy-toe into a much, much larger sensor and without having to think about a GFX necessarily and going for an H2. Instead, and sort of matching the H2 with the H2S. Would I be fooling myself that it would? I mean, I know it's not going to have the same resolution, but would I be fooling myself that I could achieve what I want?
Yeah, you would be, because ultimately, remember, you're talking about megapixel size, so 40 megapixels versus 50 megapixels, but the actual sensor size in the GFX system is bigger. All right, so technically, it's not medium format, but it's thereabouts. So yeah, tonal range, resolution, all of that stuff will be higher on the GFX 50 compared to the new 40 whatever megapixels it is in the XH2S.
Yeah. No, S is the one with the
XH2, yeah whatever. Oh, those things.
Have you still got your S, by the way? Did you sell it?
No, sold it.
Oh no, yeah. I want it, Kev.
It's gone. I offered it to you at the time.
I know, but I didn't need it at the time. Now I do.
Yeah, well, it's gone. I've got XT5s now.
Get it back.
Although I haven't really used, I did use it actually last weekend. I had a little family shoot, and I've got one on Monday, a day in the life. So there's the answer to that essentially. So even the higher res 40 megapixel sensors in the APS-C, they're more megapixels, yes, and in some ways you can probably expect them to be a little bit better in really low light, but GFX isn't the kind of camera, I don't think, even the rangefinder style 50, for running around doing kind of low light shooting, handheld, all that kind of stuff. For me, still, I don't think that is the case. I don't think they're there yet. So that's what you've got to bear in mind. It's a different sensor size, a similar megapixel size, different sensor size. Okay, question 2. You mentioned that you prefer the 50R better than the 50S as a form factor, closer to the X Pro lineup. Now you seem to use GFX 100S ? Can you elaborate on the reasons to go GFX 100 rather than 50S Mark II? The reason I can imagine would be, in quotes, I can sacrifice the form factor and wait to get the 100 megapixel sensor and all the goodness coming with that, end quotes. I'm asking that as I am entertaining the idea of getting a 50S Mark II or 50R with 50mm or 63mm lens and get rid of the XT5, which is only just bought. So yeah, it's a really good question. I've actually been asked that several times, like why go for the GFX 100 rather than the 50S, okay, which is a little bit smaller and like more rangefinder-esque and all that kind of stuff.
But you the way you use that camera is in the studio, and you use it on sticks, don't you?
Exactly that. Well, I use it handheld. I've been doing quite a bit of portrait stuff recently, and I'm using it handheld because it's got amazing in-body image stabilization in it. But yeah, you can use it on sticks as well. To be totally honest about it, the reason why I've got the 100S rather than the 50, yes, there's the megapixels difference, which is actually quite substantial. Like the portraits I'm making you can zoom into the eyes and then zoom into the photographer and zoom into me in their eyes and zoom into them in my eyes, reflecting back in their eyes, kind of thing.
What?
That might be a bit of an exaggeration.
You're going on a bit of a trip here.
Yeah,
am I in your eyes or are you in my eyes? I'm in your eyes. I can see your eyes and my eyes reflecting in your eyes.
Look into my eyes, look into my eyes, look into my eyes. The real answer is because I dropped 10 grand on a GFX 100 just before lockdown and never used it. It was potentially the worst decision I made business-wise. I had I had a contract with the Ministry of Defence to do some forensic level photography of equipment. And then COVID came and that just went away, and that would have paid for that camera. Yes. So the GFX 100 kind of just sat there doing nothing, and then bigger and all that kind of. And then they brought out the GFX 100S, which is a lot smaller, faster, IBIS, or just basically better all round. Yeah. So the GFX 100 went for a dramatic loss. And but there was enough in the money that I got back to pay for the GFX 100S,
right?
And so that made more sense than going for the 50, because I know I'm not going to be using it on the streets and around weddings and all that kind of stuff. So that's ultimately it. I
have a friend who appeared last week, as it were, on the Photo Walk podcast, called Jason Florio, and he is. He's a photojournalist. He was funny enough. He was talking to me about the start of his career and how he wanted really to photograph normal people as opposed to fashion. And when he gave his list of normal people, they were Keith from the Rolling Stones and Mother Teresa.
I often see. Well, I don't see Mother Teresa anymore because she's dead. But I often see Keith walking across the road. Yeah, seen him in the co-op yesterday.
Come and do a photo. But the point to that was that he was it a Deodorf he took? I mean, a thumping big camera anyway, up the River Gambia. And he took out with him, I suppose for the nostalgia it's lovely, but it didn't necessarily need to be, but it was an old canvas from World War II. Nice. Whether it was an old tent or something, I don't know. I didn't ask that, and I should have done. But he took this canvas on this river trip, and wherever he stopped, he would make photographs, portraits of the chiefs of the village.
Yeah.
And I wonder whether you wouldn't want to do it because it's time, or maybe it would confuse what you're trying to do with the other part of what you love doing for weddings, Kev, which is obviously reportage. But whether taking something like that to weddings and photographing the people.
We've had this kind of conversation before about doing high-end fine art type portraits later in the evening, using the GFX and all that.
Yeah.
But ultimately what you're going to get is pissed up James and his mates, and they want to put a clown's hat on and funny glasses and go, I'm going to have another one with my mate here. Yes. And I just, that's when I would use the camera for violence. So that's the dilemma there. But I mean, I agree. If you could somehow, like I and you and I, we've both talked about this off air before, about this idea of having a high-end photo booth, effectively, that are nice, beautiful portraits, singular portraits of people. But you could really only do it in the evening, and like I say, it would have to be a certain wedding, and you would have to somehow control that element of it. And I just think it would be too hard.
Yeah.
It's nice. It would be. I agree totally. I think you gave me a big, massive canvas backdrop once.
I did,
and I've still got it in the back of my car. And my plan for that is to take.
It's probably rotted now.
Of the horses.
Oh, that's a nice idea. How is Star? Because Star wasn't too well.
Star's all right. Yeah. Star's a bit better now, I think, or better.
Good.
I don't. Yeah, I've got to go up there tomorrow and fix the roof on the stables. That's my responsibility.
Don't mention veterinary bills, anybody, to Kev, because I know we weren't going to mention this, but Star, obviously, I would imagine, knowing I went to a wedding of horse vets, Kev, and I don't think any of them were driving anything much cheaper than an Aston Martin.
No, that's true. Yeah, well, the Star's vet bill came in the same day that Monty was rushed into hospital for the operation. But Gemma hid the bill from me.
So you don't know the bill? Well, you'll see it.
I do know the bill. I do know the bill. Yeah. But let's just say the horse.
Does it have 4 figures?
No, not for the horse. No, because it wasn't an operation or anything.
Right.
It's substantially cheaper than Monty. Put it that way.
Bless Monty, or Git, as he's affectionately known, who decided to eat a tennis ball.
Git was nearly a goner.
Oh, no.
Bless him. He's back now, though.
He's
Our
fighting.
house smelt much nicer for 4 days.
Oh, poor Git, don't be horrible to him. I know, Git. He loves you, really.
Well, the first time I saw him, he went off to hospital last Sunday, and we're in real world. It's Friday today.
Yeah.
So the first time I saw him was at 2:00 this morning. I did a workshop yesterday, a night workshop, and I didn't get home till 2 a.m. So I walked in the door, and normally he's like, as soon as he hears the key in the door, he's at the door, yapping away, wagging tails and everything. And I walked in, and he did try and move his tail a little bit, but he didn't really get up. Just kind of looked at me with his coat of shame on.
Oh, no.
And bless him. But yeah, he's a lot better. Hopefully.
Adam, even if your bank account is not. Adam Belcher. Hello, gents. I haven't finished. Sorry. Oh, haven't you got? Is there a third part to the question?
There's Robert. Robert goes on. I told you it was a long one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Rewind that bit.
Go back.
Adam, you can be the first question after the interview.
I forgot to mention, I'm a 50-year-old enthusiast. This is Robert talking now, not me, although it's very similar. Printing my photos at home in 5x7 A4 and 5x7, comma A4. I was going to say 5x7 A4. It isn't A4. 5x7, comma A4. And selected ones on A3, mostly doing slow street photography and landscapes. Kids and wife won't pose for me, so portraits are rare. I'm not in a rush. I'm quite happy with what I already have, but knowing that there is something much better out there planted the seed of curiosity and constantly itches the spot. Perhaps I should even forget the 50 and collect money and get 100S and rest in peace. Oh, don't rest in peace. That's horrible.
No.
Sorry for the long post. You were complaining last time. You have too few of them. So here you go. Yeah. And one more thing, he says.
What? It's like Columbo. Just one more thing.
Yeah. I enjoy the show so much. I'm going from the bottom. Right now, I'm at episode 7. Still pre-COVID and pre-episode 3. It's really interesting. Yeah. To them, from today's perspective, all the best to you both, Robert. So if he's only on episode 7, were we whinging then about not having enough questions?
We've always whinged, Kev. Yeah. I tell you what would be really interesting, and I genuinely mean this, although it does seem a bit weird to say, I want to listen to myself, but to listen to that 3-month period where we went on the air every single day.
78 days.
Yeah.
Well, you did more because you did Saturday and Sunday.
I started that way until Gemma said to you, get out the house, Mullins, I don't want you in here on Saturdays. I don't care, it's a pandemic, get working. But it certainly is as a period of time to hear what we would have been talking about. It's quite... And you talk a lot about nostalgia. There's kind of like a nostalgia thing that you and I will, I don't know, we might listen back to it in 10, 15 years' time and think, oh my word.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really interesting. It's like a social diary, isn't it?
That was. My God.
78 days of the same conversation. What are you drinking today, Kev? I've got some Thatcher's Gold today. What about you, Neil? Well, I'm on red wine, and then I'm going to have my Weetabix.
It was a little bit like that, wasn't it? Oh dear, but yeah. We do have more questions coming in the second part of the show after we've chosen to speak to our guest, who is...
Ally Stuart-Ross.
Just checking you're still awake. Now, we've known Ally for a long, long time, haven't we?
Yeah. She's been a wonderful photographer from Scotland. Made a big, not career change, she remained a photographer, but changed from shooting documentary weddings to newborn babies, and has made a very, 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 very good business. Now, Ally's got a really interesting story, and we'll wind into that and her successful business now. But from the offset, Ally, how long have you been a photographer? How did you get into it? Where did it all start?
I've been a photographer all my life, straight from school. I went to photography college. I was supposed to go to university and to do computing, and much to my parents' disgust, I decided about 3 weeks beforehand that I was going to go to photography college. So off I went and did 3 years there, and I've just been a photographer ever since. I don't think I've ever really had a proper job, except for a brief stint at being a lecturer in Photoshop when Photoshop first came out. Apart from that, I've just worked for myself.
And what was your first kind of job then when you came out of university and you were working in photography? What was that?
I got a job for a year as I think I was the assistant to the assistant in one of the only 2 commercial photography studios in Glasgow, but we did do an awful lot of really good, quite high-end work for the whiskey industry, industrial, advertising, loads of really interesting things, and that probably taught me more there in about the first 3 weeks than I'd learned in 3 weeks at college full-time.
Yeah. And then eventually you became a wedding photographer, right?
Yeah, well, that was years later. I stayed in the job as the photographer's assistant for about a year, and then I decided, I think I was 20, that I would set up on my own. So I rented a great big studio, got a whole load of lights, and I set up on my own, and I worked in that for about 3 or 4 years. Probably didn't work as hard as I probably should have. And then after about 4 years, I think I stopped and I became a freelance photographer from home. And I did that until I was 27, when I had my first child.
And that was studio stuff and weddings as well, and
no weddings at all. I did 2 weddings during the first year of that. Hated every single minute of them. Swore I would never shoot another wedding again. And I shot studio-based work and an awful lot of industrial and commercial. And
so that studio, did that stay with you? Did you keep that studio? Have you always had a studio going? Is that always been a feature of your photography?
No, I had it for about 4 years, and then I just kind of always pocketed together a studio. When I got a job that required a studio, I would, clear the back bedroom or something and make it into a studio. As long as the client wasn't actually coming, I would manage to find somewhere to do studio things. And then when I was about 27, I had my first child. I've got 4 children, and I did 2 jobs with my young baby in tow, and it was just not working. So I stopped, and I really didn't go back to working at all for about 8 years.
And then what happened?
Then what happened was I went to college part-time, and I eventually ended up doing a degree in multimedia. That was my introduction to digital cameras and things like that.
Okay, so up until then you'd been shooting film.
Yeah, not even 35mm. It was always 2 1/4 square, or 645, or 5x4, or 6.7.
Okay, so let's fast forward a little bit to now. So Mabel and Møøse is the brand that you have currently.
Yes.
And a beautiful brand it is. When did it first start? Those kind of bells in your mind start thinking about rebranding, bringing this kind of baby portraiture, different, very kind of niche style of baby portraiture, I think. When did that start going through your mind?
I had absolutely no thoughts on rebranding. It was definitely going to be I was going to do weddings, which I had been doing for 16 years. I was going to keep on my commercial business, and I was going to do a few newborns, with the intention of, under the Ally Stuart brand, in about 5 or 6 years' time, moving fully into newborns. And that was all fine until the pandemic hit. And of course, overnight, I lost all my weddings. I lost 90% of my commercial work. And I would say I spent the first 2 or 3 months throwing myself into, learning everything I could about wedding photography. I redid my website. You helped me switch everything to Squarespace, which was fantastic. And then I just had a premonition. I thought, weddings are never going to come back the way I want to shoot them. I'm never going to be comfortable in a room with all these people. And I just thought the time was right to switch completely to newborns, which was what I did. And that meant a complete new brand.
So that was the end of Ally Stuart-Ross photography and the start of Mabel and Møøse.
Yeah. And when I started it, I didn't have the Mabel and Møøse name. I just had this vision of what I wanted it to be like. And it's exactly as it is. I didn't have the name.
Yeah, so I think I vaguely have recollections. Now, I might be wrong about this. I might have dreamt this, but I vaguely have recollections of you asking, because we both still are, I think, members of the MV Collective.
Yeah.
Although it's quite quiet these days. And
it's very quiet.
I think I vaguely remember you putting different brand names and different, what do you think of this? Is this better? That kind of thing. And so how did you settle on Mabel and Møøse? Because it's very, I love it on your website. It says Scandi style baby photography or newborn photography. How did that come about?
Yeah, well, I did ask on the website on the MV Collective, because they've been really helpful. I don't know if any of your listeners have heard of David Bryce's The Wee Album Company, which I think has now been sold to Sim, but the MV Collective were very helpful in helping him choose his Wee Album Company name. So I thought I would do the same thing, and it didn't go well at all. I had all sorts of suggestions like tartan teddies and things that just were not in line with what I was thinking. I also had so many people messaging me, phoning me up, really, really well-meaning people who are all my friends, saying, don't do this, don't rebrand, don't go into newborns, don't do this, that, and the next thing, don't go to Squarespace, don't change your domain name. So I just decided I was going to just basically do it on my own. My 2 daughters were very helpful, or 3 daughters, sorry, were very helpful in helping me choose the Mabel and Møøse name. And my sister, she's very artistic and thinks the way I do. And my 3 daughters are all right in my target market age group, which I probably realised that all the photographers in the MB collective were probably not. So Mabel and Møøse was just perfect. It took a good few weeks of messing around with things because there was so much involved with the name. It couldn't mean anything weird in a different language. It had to have the domain available. It had to have Twitter handle, Instagram handle, Facebook handle. It had to look nice when I wrote it out. I had to be able to say it properly. There was just so much that when you actually start thinking about a name.
Yeah. These are all the things, everything you just mentioned there are all the things that are important when it comes to branding. And many people just don't think about things like that, how it looks, how the writing of the text looks on a page, on print, domain names, all of that kind of stuff. That's often at the end of the thought process. And so you absolutely did the right thing to think about that and think about it carefully. And I suppose, I guess in some ways, the pandemic, for the hell that it was, has to be partly thanked for the move, really, because it kind of brought that forward, that move to Mabel and Møøse and your idea of moving away from weddings. Before I ask the next question, is there anything about wedding photography you miss? You said at the beginning, you said you shot 2, and then you said you'd never shoot any more, and then you said you shot them for 16 years.
Yeah, I know. Well, they were a very different kind of wedding by the time I came back to them. So the 2 I shot, I did them on, I think it was 645. I shot 2 on my own. I'd never been to a wedding when I shot them, so I don't know what part of me thought I would actually know what to do. Yeah. I had the priest stop midway through the wedding and tell me to come down to the front and take a photograph. That was the first one. I did one where I was an assistant, and I remember it was still at the time when you shot all the couples. And this guy was working for a big Glasgow company that shot loads of weddings, and he was doing it on 645. Well, no, it would be 2 1/4 square, I think. Anyway, we had to line the couples up, and that was my job. So he could get 2 couples out of the 1 negative because they were that stingy. So it was cut in half when we got back. No, I hated every single minute of it. And then when I moved from Glasgow to Dundee about 20 years ago, and I wanted to set up as a web designer, but that didn't go too well because too many other people were doing it better than I ever could. So my then boyfriend, now he's been upgraded to husband now, suggested I go back to photography, which was what I did. And it was kind of strange because the way I actually got into weddings was it was still in the days of Yellow Pages. So I put an advert for my commercial industrial photography in the Yellow Pages, and I got some kind of weird discount if you put 2 adverts in instead of 1. Mm-hmm. And the chap assured me that I could cancel it. So I put one in the wedding section, and of course I forgot to cancel it. So the first thing I knew was my phone was ringing and people were wanting to book me. And so I did it, and I shot weddings for 16 years, and I absolutely loved every single minute of it.
Yeah. And now, of course, your Saturday. Well, I don't know. Maybe you shoot on Saturdays. I don't know, but your Saturdays are a little bit freer, perhaps.
I don't shoot Saturdays or Sundays at all. I'm very strict about what I do. I start at 10 in the morning. Well, that's when I start shooting, but I'm usually up before then getting the studio ready. But I shoot from 10 in the morning. I do have viewing sessions because I do everything by in-person sales, IPS. So Monday to Thursday, I'm quite often working till maybe 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night, and I'm editing. I try to take Fridays off, but that's not strict. Saturdays and Sundays, I just do not do anything for clients. I quite happily edit, and I'm a bit of a workaholic. So if there's not something interesting for me to do, I'll be working.
Yeah, of course. So how you went from kind of being branded or marketing yourself as a predominantly wedding photographer to this new Mabel and Møøse. Where on earth did the clients come from at the beginning, at least? Really,
just a few people that I know. My daughters are the right age that their friends were having babies, but there was only about 3 or 4 of them. I gave them a gift voucher, asked them to come in for a portfolio building session for my website, and then they came back to view the photographs, and they got to choose. I think I gave them 2, and they had to purchase any more if they wanted them. So I've never done anything where everybody got everything for nothing. And it just really grew from there. When I started Mabel and Møøse, I couldn't photograph anybody because we were in a really strict lockdown. So from the time that I made the decision, I'm closing the wedding business and the commercial business, and I'm starting doing a completely new niche genre of newborn under a new brand, new name, new everything. I couldn't photograph any babies, so I had to work with the ones that I had kind of been practicing on, of which there weren't that many really. I think I'd only photographed about maybe 10 or 12 babies at that point.
Okay. And then what about, did you use anything like, I don't know, Facebook competitions or anything like that to get people in through the door? It's often what happens at the beginning, isn't it?
Yeah, to be honest, it's still happening now. I've been in business now for 2 and a bit years, and it's kind of tailing off. I haven't had to do one for a while, but most of my clients have come in on Facebook competitions. And the ones that are coming in, I had a lovely little baby in this morning, and I was asking his mum, they actually booked, they were a booked paying client, and I was asking them, and they've had about 4 or 5 different friends that seen my work and loved it, and they were all Facebook competition winners.
So how does that work with Facebook then? Because I always say to people, from a wedding point of view, I'm not sure that it's the client, the right marketplace for wedding clients. But I know that yourself, and I know some other newborn photographers do so well with that platform.
Yeah.
How do these Facebook competitions work for you?
Well, the way I run it is people really just need to jump on and comment with the date of their baby's that the baby's due, or the day the baby was born, so its birthday. I always open it up for newborns up to a year old, and there's always a first prize who win a big, I think it's a 1620, just mounted. It's not framed, it's mounted. There's 2 or 3 10x7s, and then there's usually quite a few of the 6x4 size, but they all get the same session, they all get exactly the same service. And as my competition entrance has grown, I give out more and more of the 6x4 vouchers.
Okay.
But I think the last one I had, I don't know, I think I had about 400 people enter the competition.
Wow. And so the people, you presumably randomly draw the winners out of a hat or something, however it's done. And they come to the studio, and then there may be an upsell or something to them. And what about all the people that don't win? Does that go into some kind of CRM? Do you then send them a message and offer them a discount, or is it just bad luck?
Not really. I should do. It's on my to-do list. They do go into my CRM for my ever-increasing email list. At the moment, I've really sent out 3 newsletters in 2 years, and that's about it. I wouldn't say they're randomly chosen. There is, I don't know if I'm allowed to mention it on here, but there is a course that I did on PhotoBizX with, I don't know if you've heard of Andrew.
Oh, yeah, of course.
So he had me on recently, and there's a course that you can go on and buy, and it goes through what I do step by step. And I think it's open to people that are not in PhotoBizX membership. I'm not sure. But I suppose, yeah, I know who I'm giving out the winners to, but I do have lots of wild cards and things, just people that I choose at random, because I don't want Facebook to get angsty with me and say that I'm
of course,
I'm not doing it randomly. And to be honest, there's no rhyme or reason. There's people that can come in and I think, oh, well, I shouldn't prejudge, but you do. And you think they're probably not going to buy very many, but sometimes they totally surprise me, which is nice.
What's if you're willing to say, what's the biggest sale that you've had from a client, roughly? And if you're uncomfortable saying that.
Well, my biggest sale from a client at which I was doing a little happy dance, but that was a very unusual client, was 12,000. So that was a lot.
Yeah.
That's incredibly unusual. That was a lot of wall frames. She had a beautiful home, and I had also photographed her wedding. So she was buying frames from that, but that's unusual. But I think the biggest apart from that was 3,300. I had one recently.
Yeah.
2,200 is very normal. A lot of people will buy the collection that I have, 790.
Mm-hmm.
I would say if it's below that, probably not. I wouldn't say annoyed, because I want people to come in and buy what they can afford to buy and what they love.
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody ever doesn't purchase because they don't love them. They don't maybe purchase because it's just not in their budget and they've got other things, which is fine by me.
Yeah. So somewhere between 700 and 1,000 might be the average that you might get from an average sit-in.
Yeah, my average for the first year was 970. So that was an average. And I would say the very first year was pretty much all Facebook competition winners.
Yeah.
So it was pretty good. But I just treat everybody as though they're not a Facebook competition winner. The minute they come into the studio, or from the minute I give them the prize, in my head, they're not a Facebook competition winner. They're a client that's sought me out, and they get exactly the same treatment.
And Ally Stuart-Ross returns next time for part 2. Right, questions. Have we actually exhausted the question we had before we heard from Ally?
Yeah.
Is it
Robert.
Is it done? Are you sure? There's not a fourth part to it?
No, that's it. Yeah,
I'm going to give you a choice. Okay, you can have a question about annoying things that you put on the end of your lenses, or you can have it looks like fan mail.
Fan mail. Definitely.
Here we go. Here's a Kev loving moment.
Warning.
Hello, gents. I'd sent this through Kev's F16 site initially, but I got an ominous disclaimer message about only answering questions, about only answering mails about commissions, prints, presets, yada, yada, yada. What's that about?
Well, yes. So I did get that email from my F16 website.
Yeah.
And actually, there wasn't a reply. It's on the contact form that says, "Do not send me technical questions any longer."
Or I will send round the boys with black belts.
Yeah. So, however, it wasn't a technical question. It was about a bag, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Which I would always have had.
Okay. So here we go. A question about your Wonton Craft bag. Wonton Craft bag?
Wooton Craft.
Wooton Craft. I don't know this bag, Kev. I thought I knew every bag going. We've talked about your bags, but you've never called it that. Have you?
Yeah, Wooton Craft.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
The Trooper model... The Trooper model that you use is discontinued, and I don't remember hearing you state the actual capacity. I'm looking at the 7L Pilot that's part of their current range, but I think it might be too small for a Galaxy S7 FE tablet. Blimey, how big are they? Do you know offhand the litre capacity of your Trooper that housed your Surface?
Not litre capacity, but I am looking, because it doesn't say, I am looking at a website now called Photo Specialist. They seem to have them in stock. Wooton Craft Trooper shoulder bag.
Yeah.
And it says here that the size is 300 by 120 by 220 millimeters.
What's that in litres?
I don't know.
What's that?
71.
What's that in goats per square inch?
It would, if I remember rightly, I still have it somewhere, but I don't use it right now. If I remember rightly, it would hold my Surface book, which was the size of a 13-inch laptop. Yeah, I wouldn't be going for much bigger than that. I should think it will hold the tablet, the Samasy, what's it called? Samasy Tag, Samasy. What's he got? A Samasy Tag 7.
I just want to hear you keep saying it.
What is it? A Samsung? Oh, Samsung.
Yeah.
Samsung.
No, it's a Galaxy S7 FE tablet.
That's a Samsung, isn't it? Samsung.
Is it? I don't know. Have you found another word? Is this the 2023 word that you can't say?
Samsung Galaxy Tab.
No, it's Galaxy S7 FE tablet. Can you try that again with Samsung at the start?
Yeah, but they're made by Samsung. Samsung Galaxy 7 F tabs.
Tricks reception.
One of them. I reckon that would fit.
Well, it better. He's about to drop a lot of money on it.
Yeah, although I just realised this website I was talking about, it does say not deliverable. You can buy it, you can add it to your basket and pay for it, but it then says not deliverable.
Well, you're not using yours. Could you send it to him?
Yeah, I might be able to. I'll send it. I'll write gift.
Yeah. Oh, dear. See, I like things that are cyclic. Comes round, isn't it? It's almost like we planned it, Kev.
Yeah, it's not cyclic. It's cyclical.
Cyclical, not cyclic. Cyclic is the control you use in a helicopter. Right. No, there's another part of this. I'll not say that I am a fan of yours, but see, as you read this, you can read it two ways, because that sounds a bit... I'll not say I'm a fan of yours, as in, you really get my goat, Mullins. But no, he doesn't mean it that way. It's all in the intonation. I'll not say that I'm a fan of yours, but you've absolutely inspired me to learn, and I thank you for that. I'll admit to being quite giddy when you'd liked a post of mine on the Fujicast FB group or commented back on Insta. Mostly I look forward to the day when I can call upon you as a mentor. You are a bit wax on, wax off at the moment, aren't you? You're
like it, yeah.
Wax on, wax off. I currently shoot a battered second-hand F100S and my Samsung Galaxy, you say that, Samsung Galaxy 20S Plus. Go on, Kev.
His tablet.
I want you to say it.
Samsung Galaxy S7 Plus.
No, 20S Plus.
20S plus 7 Galaxy.
No,
tab.
no, that's a different thing. Mostly monochrome, but I'm saving for a full X Pro 3 XT3 base kit. With 2 kids in high school and a spare in grade 3, it may take a while. So for now, I shoot what I have unapologetically. Well, so you should. Charles Spider Wallace. Oh,
yeah,
that's a cool
great name, isn't it?
Spider Wallace. No.
Yeah, I want to be called Spider.
Yeah.
I don't want to be called Kevin anymore.
Do you not think Kevin sounds as showbiz as Spider?
It's not the same, is it? Not the same.
Yeah.
I want to be called Spider Mullins.
P.S. An Amazon purchase of From Snapshots to Great Shots is in the post and on the way to me as I type.
I did get another little royalty check from that a couple of weeks ago.
Ah.
Nice. Well, it's not a check anymore.
Very nice. Instagram, by the way, Spider Shoots Pictures. SPYDER. Spider Shoots Pictures. There we go.
There we go, indeed.
It wasn't so much a question, but we will come back for we've got a sort of slightly more involved question in a moment. But first of all, book.
That sounds ominous.
It does, doesn't it? First of all, book. Book of the week. Book of
all right,
the week.
Yeah. So, book of the week is Café Lehmitz. Now, I may have spelt Lehmitz. It's probably the correct way of saying it. Right. Anders Petersen. And the blurb, it says, Café Lehmitz, a beer joint in a Reeperbahn, was a meeting point for many who worked in Hamburg's red light district. Did you know, by the way?
Not about red light districts, no.
Why hamburgers are called Hamburg. And there's no ham in them. There's no cows in them.
No.
There's no pigs in them.
Why is that then?
Because they're invented in Hamburg. Anyway, so I'll start again because it's disrespectful otherwise. Café Lehmitz, a beer joint in a Reeperbahn, was a meeting point for many who worked in Hamburg's red light district. Prostitutes, pimps, transvestites, workers, and petty criminals. Anders Petersen was 18 years old when he first visited Hamburg in 1962, chanced upon the cafe and established friends that made an impact on his life. In 1968, he returned to Lehmitz and found new regulars, renewed contact, and began to take pictures. His photographs, which were first published in a book from 1978, have become classics of their genre. Tom Waits used our cover picture for his album A Rain Dog, and Tom Waits does the prologue, the introduction to the book. Yeah. One of the greatest voices in music, by the way, Tom Waits, if you like that gritty stuff. Their candidness and authenticity continue to move the viewer. The solidarity evident in them prevents voyeurism or false pity, which is interesting, arising via generally referred to as asocial behavior. The other world of Café Lehmitz, which no longer exists in this form, becomes visible as a lively community with its own self-image and dignity. Okay. So this is a beautiful, beautiful book. And quite rightly, it says on the blurb that, you could mistake some of these images as voyeuristic, but you mustn't. Yeah.
Don't leave it on your coffee table when you've got kids around, I would say.
Well, no, it's not quite like that, but it's it is of a time, and it is of a set of people who are making a living in their own chosen way.
Yes.
So, for example, it in most cases, it's beautiful, gritty, black and white images of real people enjoying themselves in this bar.
Very much, yeah.
And there's some great candid portraits. I'm looking at one on page 53 now. These two ladies with a bottle of beer in front of them. But you only have to flick a couple of pages in either direction, and you're going to see some flesh and hands and various things that you might misconstrue and incorrectly, I think, take the wrong attitude towards. But the thing that strikes me about this book is, as you move through it, you see the same characters repeatedly in different pictures, and you actually get an idea of their personality just by looking at the photos. Apart from the introduction text by Tom Waits, there's no descriptions of the images. There are no captions or anything like that. Some of them, like I say, are very simple portraits. Some of them are a little bit more risque, but it's all happening in the confines, within the remit of this bar, which, it's got like an old Wurlitzer jukebox. Everybody's smoking. They're all, some of them are, kind of gregarious. Some of them are just really drunk.
Looks like there's a bare knuckle fight night as well.
All kinds of stuff going on there. Yeah, there's clever images where the newspaper, where people are perhaps using newspaper to cover their face while they're being photographed. But actually, that's good because that gives you a sense of what's going on in the news in the day. Bearing in mind, this is like 1968 Germany. There's a wonderful picture on page 70 of a woman. I mean, everybody's smoking, but a woman, and she's got a beer in front of her, and there's another woman who's just completely and utterly slunk over the table. She's got dirty fingers, and her clothes are a little bit grubby and all that kind of stuff. But she sat next to somebody who's just having a jolly old night out. And I think the book itself, so it's a well-designed book. There's no kind of split spreads or anything like that. The curation's excellent, and the editing is beautiful. The processing of the film, you can tell, was quite challenging at times, because obviously it's probably dark. I wouldn't imagine there's any windows in this place or anything like that. But it's got that real, like, it's almost tangible. Even on a reprinted page, such as the pages in this book, you can practically feel the grain. You can feel the emotion in the pictures, I think. Some amazing, we talk these days about having cameras, that can go up to 12,800 ISO. And, I wouldn't put my camera at 12,800 ISO because you don't want grain in images. Woo, you're going to see some beautiful grain in this. And this is all shot on film in a place that's probably underground with no windows.
And that's probably the reason why some of the photographs have got lots of motion blur and stuff in them as well.
Yeah, exactly. I just think, but every single picture, and of course I'm sure that Anders took a lot more pictures that have been curated for the book, but every single one has that perfect combination, that holy trinity that we always talk about of light, composition and moment. Every single one of them has wonderful light, brilliant composition, and most interestingly, the moment, the subject, and they're just so well put together. These pictures.
They call it a dive bar, is what it's called. A dive bar.
Yeah. So it's a really, really nice book, and it is. I'm going to tell you the publisher. So it's Prestel.com, Anders Petersen, Café Lehmitz. Now, I probably have pronounced that incorrectly, so I will spell it Lehmitz. Very, very good book.
He says he was inspired by Ed van der Elsken's Love on the Left Bank. I'm not sure that's what you're aware of. But actually, when you look at it, I've just clicked through to it for a Guardian piece. And there's some I can see how he was inspired. It's not quite the same sort of bar, but I can see how he was inspired. In fact, it's all his bars and underground and all sorts of stuff. Very interesting work.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So the version I've got is, I think, is out of print, but my understanding is that Prestel's going to republish in March. So if you're looking for this book, and I really do, if you're into candid, nostalgia-based images of the past, then this is a book for you. Then you might kind of. I've just looked on Amazon and it says out of print, but my understanding is it will be reprinted in March, and it'll be available then. So check out the Prestel.com website.
He must have done a lot of work to have been accepted in this bar as just somebody making pictures.
Absolutely, but isn't it? If you think about. I mean, you'll remember 1968. I don't, but
thank you. I was one.
See, there you go.
And I certainly wasn't hanging out in dive bars.
But the thing about it is, cameras and photography was seen as a privilege. And if somebody came into your space and said, "I'm really interested in you as people," And a lot of these people probably wouldn't have had that positivity in their life many times. You know, somebody's taken interest in them. So that for them, this was an honor, I would have thought, you know, as the subjects. Now going to a bar today where everybody's got mobile phones and, you know, everything else, and there's CCTV behind the cameras, and, you know, you walk out to the car park and it's dash cams filming you everywhere. It's not the same. You know, it's not the same. So, you know, I think it's a very different. It's a really interesting play on the generation differences that we have there.
Well, you certainly would not have had somebody saying, hey, "What are you putting that on? Is that going on Facebook, Instagram?" I don't want because you know, it's a different period when people thought very differently about pictures.
Yeah, absolutely, and also, you know, but these people are, you know, some of these are on the periphery of society, and so. Whilst they probably didn't think, obviously they didn't think about social media and stuff, they possibly, you know, would have been uncomfortable initially about having their photos taken. But, you know, as I said, Anders is, you know, you've got to make a relationship with people. You can't just wander into a bar and start photographing. Even now, you know, you could, there is photographers working who are doing this kind of thing, but they will build up a relationship with, you know, with the client, with the subject, wherever that may be, whether it's a bar or, you know, hospital ward or whatever. You can't just go and start clicking away. And, you know, one of the problems I think of today, photographers of today, is certainly social photographers in our kind of community, is that they want to do this. They'll see these pictures and think, I want to do that, but they'll want to rush it. They'll want to, you know, they want to do it instantly, and they'll want to get it out on their website and, you know, all of that kind of stuff. But this kind of thing, you know, it's a project, it's a long-term project and most of that project is not about clicking the button on your camera. It's about interacting with the people,
Absolutely.
You know, getting to know them, making friends with them, and allowing them to trust you.
Well, it's an incredible book. We'll put a link on the, as you say, you're not quite sure about availability, are you? But
it's going to come in March, so the reprint. What I'll do is we'll put the link to the Prestel Publishing website, which has all of the blurb. Yeah. So right now it's in the process of being reprinted and should be out. When's March?
Couple of weeks' time, Kev.
No,
in fact,
it's still only the second week of January, isn't it?
By the time this goes out, it might be next week. I know, months are going past. Soon be back in weddings, Kev.
Christmas adverts be on soon.
Yep. Adam B. I've gone not quite for the because we sort of time is getting on, so I haven't gone for the complex one. I've gone for a slightly easier one. Adam B. Adam Belcher. Hello, gents. I have 2 questions for you. Number 1, do either of you use the lens hood on your lenses? I've started using them more, yes. For a while I didn't, I couldn't tell you where they were. But I probably use it on the 56. Yeah.
What was the question? Sorry, I was reading something.
Oh, are we keeping you up? Do you use the lens hood on your lenses, Kev?
No, not really.
Why?
Probably just through laziness, I have to say. If they're in the... No, I don't. But that's... Oh, sorry, hang on.
Who's calling you? This is the problem, Adam. He's so much in demand.
Look, it's lenshoodmakers.com. No, it was Gemma. Sorry.
Do you need to get it? I'm worried now that another animal in your house is going to cost 4,000 quid.
No, she's gone. It's fine. Don't worry. No, I don't. No, but the short answer is no, but not for any kind of sensible reason. You know, people say, well, yeah, but you're going to bang your lens and all that kind of stuff. You're going to scratch your lens. I have to say, all my lenses are still not scratched in all the years I've been using them. I haven't.
Well, I can't believe that.
Well, they're not. They're not. I don't.
I've seen the state of your cameras, Kev.
The only lenses that might be scratched are the ones that you've nicked off me.
No, they go in dividers.
No, I'm looking at so I've got my 56 on my XT5 on my desk right in front of me, along with the 18mm.
And I bet it hasn't got.
They don't have their lens hoods on, and those are the 2 cameras I used last week.
Do you put over the front, by the way, little filters at all, glass filters to protect?
No.
Okay.
No, again, not for any. You know, I don't want to say it's right or wrong to do that. You know, some people, rightly so, would want to protect their gear, and a filter, a lens protecting filter, will. You know, but you know what? they cost money. Good ones cost money, and like I say, I've never scratched mine. Like I said, fingers crossed. I'll probably take it home and Monty will scratch the hell out of them.
Yeah, that'll be the next thing he eats.
Yeah.
Oh, look, I've just eaten your 56 mil. Can we go to the vets again? I quite like that experience of being looked after.
56 mil.
Secondly, would either of you consider, I know we've covered this before, Kev, but go with me, releasing a photography book of your wedding work over the years? I'm sure a lot of us would love to see one. I'm hoping the answer will not be, we shall consider. Well, there's no money in photography books. Kev tells me that. It's like a mantra. It's more of a mantra than wax on, wax off. There's no money in photography books. Say again. Tap your heels together twice. There's no money in photography books.
So I just messaged Gemma and said I'm podcasting.
Right.
And she said, tell Neil to stop saying the book of face. It drives her nuts.
Well, at least she listens.
Yeah. That's funny. No, there is money in books. If you get mainstream, I mean, look at Sean. I mean, he sells his books like they fly off the shelves, don't they?
They do.
Sean Tucker. Josh K. Jackson has got a wonderful book that has done very well for him, I'm sure.
I think what I'm saying here is I should reframe my answer. There's no money in training photography books.
Oh, like educational ones. Yes, that is much more tricky these days. So as was mentioned earlier, I did do an X100S kind of guidebook, which did really well, but that was before kind of YouTube got in the way of everything and stuff. And I did go down. We did sign contracts for new versions of that for other cameras, but then the publishers, Pearson's, just said it's not worth it anymore. You know, people just don't buy them. They just go on YouTube or whatever. So
what about the self-published, not self-published route, as in tangible holding your hand book with pages, as in a downloadable book, an e-book?
Yeah, but I think he's on about picture books, like a book of our photographs of our weddings. Not our weddings. Well, I have had more than one wedding. I've had 3. But you know what I mean? Pictures of a book of pictures from weddings we've photographed, rather than an educational one.
Yeah.
I think there is some merit in it, I have to say, but it's I think it would be very complicated because I'd feel, even though contractually probably not obliged, but I would feel like I would have to speak to every single client.
Yeah.
All of that.
I think that would be. And I always worry that if you go back a few years, you might be opening up a can of worms, Can I use?
Yeah.
Oh, we're no longer married. I mean, I did go to that wedding not so long back where the husband had forgotten that he'd employed me for his first wedding. And when I rocked up at his second, did he look worried?
Brilliant. Yeah, that is funny. But I would, it's time, isn't it? I've got a long list of big projects that I'd love to do.
What's the biggest project in your long list of biggest projects that you'd like to do?
Retiring.
No, that's not a project, Kev.
I'm going to retire, and then that will last for the rest of my life, which hopefully will be a very long time.
That's a long tail project. But what?
Yeah.
Right, the next project down that you'd like to do that's photographic.
Well, it's not some. Yeah, I mean, photographic projects. Like, yeah, it'd be lovely to do different things, but I mean, I'm thinking more about business typey things like writing a book or an educational platform or various things like that. Presets, they're the kind of things I have in my little to-do list.
Yeah.
I would love, we've talked about this again before, if somebody said to you, you've got 6 months where the kids aren't going to miss you and Gemma won't miss you and you're not going to run off with someone else or anything like that.
Yeah.
And, you don't have to worry about money. What would you love to do? And I would love to go with a musician and photograph, all of the behind the scenes stuff.
Oh, yeah, you've said that before, yeah.
That's what I'd love to do. But, everybody has dreams, don't they?
Well,
I mostly have nightmares.
Do you?
About you.
That's nice. Thank you very much. Right, I think we've got time for one last question from Cube Cafe. That's Facebook, Kev. Just letters in different orders. So
I was thinking.
So it doesn't.
I was going to say something. I was thinking no, because that would be really impolite. Because it might be an odd name, but people are allowed to have odd names.
Well, I just don't want to annoy the out of Gemma.
Do you want to be called Spider or Cube Cafe?
Cube Cafe.
Okay, sorry, I've closed Facebook down now.
Open the thing up again then. If it was a book, it would be much easier. You wouldn't have to reboot it.
I got Gemma in trouble, haven't I?
No, it's all right. She never ever answers back on my texts and stuff anyway. It's almost...
I should have done that to mine either, don't worry.
You don't send me cards, you don't say Happy Christmas. All gone, all gone.
I know. Right, let's go. Oh, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 questions from Paul Waring.
Can we just do a short one?
Pick a number between 1 and 7.
7.
Right. Afternoon, Kev. Afternoon, Neil. You'll see I've posted a few questions, correct? Feel free to use one or all of them, although I imagine that would give me my own episode. What piece of gear do you have your eye on and why? Are you likely to actually purchase it or is it a pipe dream? So, i.e., what would you like to get?
Is this something that you need or something you just want to...
Oh, I don't know. He hasn't explicitly said that, but...
If it's a need, I need another... XH2S, but if an XH2 would be just as nice.
Yeah,
but that doesn't sound very, because I want to have a full complement of that camera in the camera bag.
What piece of gear do you have your eye on and why? And are you actually likely to purchase it or is it a pipe dream? I would say. Yeah, I don't really. I mean, I often kind of scan stuff, and see things and think, ooh, like Kickstarter is a great place to, to look and you see all these amazing ideas and things. But, I have to say I don't really have much in the way of urges at the moment.
Do you know?
Kind of urge.
Must be your age.
If anything, if there's anything that's kind of the thing that's tickling away in the back of my mind, that I might, and I won't. This is one of those pipe dream things. It's probably an audio. It'd be like a high-end record player.
Oh, well, that's a nice one.
I've got a record player, but it's not a high-end one. And I'm not going to do it.
High-end ones are usually very complicated. They've got far too many weights and strings and bits of wire, exactly. And you need some sort of science degree to understand where the bits go. It's certainly an engineering degree. But I think that's very nice. I just thought I thought of a practical other one, Kev. I'd like, because I'm using more and more neutral density filters, I'd like to get and I don't know which is the best system, a really good system where you can magnetically work with any size lens. And that's in Fujifilm land. So sometimes you're working with titchy lenses, right up to quite wide lenses. A magnetic system for putting my my ND filters on. Anybody got a suggestion? There we go. I'm sure there's systems out there. Yeah, write in. Let us know. Yeah, that's it for this week. If you'd like to send us a question through Facebook, how do we do it, Kev?
Right, so you go to the Book of Face.
No, you can't.
And
that was CANT, by the way.
You go to the thread.
You go to the thread.
Do you know what 100 is in Welsh?
And I don't want to know. No, it's probably something horrible.
The best thing to do, everybody. Oh, actually, no. I'm not going to say it. Don't ask Google what 100 is in Welsh.
No, don't. You've got 50 seconds left to tell us how to. In Facebook.
Go to Facebook, and there's a pinned thread at the top, and you can just bang your questions in there, and we will get to them eventually.
Right, and if you want to send it in by email, by mail or then you send them to click@fujicast.co.uk. Look after your animals this week, Kev. See you soon. Bye.
The Fujicast is an independent loading zone production. Email the show with your questions and words of wisdom to click@fujicast.co.uk. Email any complaints and political nonsense to our wives, who will deal with your comments in their own good time and in their own good way.